This is my voice guide for Lotus. We'll start off on C, defense. So, I'll talk about the walls first, and the most basic wall is going to be this one, right? This one's the one that a lot of people will think about. You can do one slightly better, like this, and the reason why this is slightly better is because it's just a slightly less baitable, and there's a chance that it is going to be undetected because people don't like walk up like this. When they're actually thinking about going into the site, they might not like walk up straight away, so they might not actually see this until the first person's already out, which is quite good. I'll be careful also doing this wall. So I've seen this wall sometimes. I'll be careful doing this wall. The reason why is because if it does proc, it is jumpable from this side. I think as well, this isn't even proc it either if they jump over it like this. They might do. I'm not actually sure. I've never actually seen anyone do that while the wall is actually like not procced. But when the wall does proc, they can jump on top of it. So be careful. There is like a reason why you might want to do this, this wall. And the reason is that if someone goes out, like a jet dashes over here for some reason rather than up here, and for whatever reason or whatever it is, this wall gets procced. The second and like third player out, they're not going to be able to go that way obviously because the wall's there, so they're going to be stuck in this area. So if you actually plan for that, you can have like a flash here. You can even potentially have a razor vine slowing them like in this corner. And what happens is they go through, you proc the razor vine, proc the flash, and then they're potentially free kills, right? That's the reason why you might want to do this wall. But I think it's risky because if you ever like leave seaside or whatever, right, it's going to be open to lurks, and this is like the most common lurk pathing, so it is a bit risky to do. You're going to have to know what range you're going to use it on, and like you're going to like kind of guarantee they're going to go C, and also that they're not going to just like path on top of here like with a jet or a raise. They're going to have something like an ISO or a phoenix, or the jet just randomly decides to dash down here. That's going to be like when this wall is potentially good. Another time when a trap wall is good is over here, and this one is for backside, so you're going to be playing over here, and you're going to have a flash over here. You don't really need a razor vine with this, but if you want to, you can have a razor vine like this. My normal setup for razor vines, just really quickly, is going to be here and here. And basically what it does is it blocks off this corridor, and it also makes it really hard to navigate this area where they have to be against the back wall. Generally, they'll be against the back wall for the most part anyway. So if you are like concerned that this razor vine is not that useful, you can put one here as well. That's also completely fine. So like when they actually walk up, you can just flash, and there you go. And the razor vine also does help as well if you want the razor vine. You can place it on this side as well, which might be a bit better for this trap play, to be honest. It's very marginal, but yeah, probably a tiny bit better, slightly. And that's kind of it for C site. The rest of it is kind of just like place your flash high, and that's kind of it. Like high on back walls for the flash is you can't go wrong on defense. With the ult, I wouldn't recommend using the ult on site takes. I would recommend using it on post plants the most, and that even goes for attack as well. I actually recommend on attack you don't actually use your ult for site takes. You use it for post plant, because generally you're going to get more value with it, to be honest. And the reason why, like, Killjoy technically would as well, but the reason why Killjoy ult is used for like post plant, like for attack, taking sites more than not taking sites, is because of it's straight up disarming people, and on top of that as well, it's also like very slow. So it's slow and powerful basically. When this ult is less powerful and way faster, so it tends to be better when reacting to the post plant rather than like actively making your player to take the site. It is good in that situation too, and I'll talk about that a bit on attack. But yeah, for the most part, you're going to be not using it for like site defense. So then we'll talk about post plant, and in post plant, this is where you're going to ult from. Is here. So the only place it doesn't get is this area here, which your teammates ideally should have already. So this ult is actually really strong. It's really strong to get. It literally gets everything. I'm pretty sure it does get this still, even though there's a little gap there. Pretty sure it does get that too. At least I haven't seen anyone not hit by it there, so that's pretty good. When it comes to like post plant, first of all, your wall is not going to be there. You're not going to have your wall on post plant majority of the time. If you do have it, it can be like okay to put in like some choke points, so then they can't push you as like an anti-flood tool, like through smokes. But it's so immensely situational, and on top of that, you probably don't have it. So yeah, I'm not going to talk about the wall that much. In post plants, or just in general, really with VYSE as well, your flash when you're like using it like offensively is going to be, can I get info with this? Like, it's going to be an info flash, or can I get a kill with this? It's going to be a kill flash, right? Those are like the two modes that this flash has. So that's one of the modes you're going to be looking for when you're like retaking, right? You're going to be looking for info, so info in mound, for instance, or I'm going to get info with backside like this, or it's going to be like a kill flash. So maybe it's going to be that there's someone on this corner, so I'm going to get this flash or something like this. Not like that. Not like that. Don't do it like that. like this, and then it's either going to draw his crosshair to shoot it, so then I can peek off that, or I'm going to be able to get the full flash out and kill him off the flash. Goes over here as well, can do the same thing, like this. Basically kill flash or info flash. Very, very simple. With the Razor Vine, you're going to be looking to get, like, basically hit high priority areas that people want to move through. So things where they can, like, maybe navigate away from enemies. So, like, if they're trying to take a fight here, putting this Razor Vine here might put them in a bad situation where they can't go over here, which they might want to do. Also, as well, if you can put them in, like, situations where they have to peek. So we do it like this. If they do put in situations where they want to peek or they have to peek, otherwise they're going to be in a bad angle. Like, they can be really good like this, right? Because it's going to stop them from peeking this angle, basically. Or it's going to stop them from moving away from peeking the angle, so they're going to be stuck out in the open. Or at least taking damage and making sound, getting away from you. So Razor Vines, you want to put them in places that you expect people to be, and just use them as like a way to, like, bully them out of the spaces or keep them in spaces, basically. So that's it for the post plant on C. We'll go on to B. So on B, for defense, I basically have, like, there's literally just this wall, basically. That's basically the extent of it. You can do stuff for this over here, but I wouldn't recommend it. I would just do this, because generally, you can kind of tell when the enemy team are going to go B a lot, because they're going to be on eco, they're going to be, like, on, like, bonus or something. That's when they're going to go B a lot. So, like, the majority of the time is what I mean to say. Like, the majority of rounds that they're on eco, or that they're on, like, bonus, then that's when they'll go B. So that you can, like, kind of predict that. So if they're on bonus, then maybe set up B this round. So you place a Razor Vine like this as well. This is, like, the most basic way to place it. When you've got, like, a choke point, right? Is just place it over 4 meters away, slightly over 4 meters away. So then they can't see it, but then they get hit when they actually come out. You can proc it, and then they get hit by it in the choke point. Another one you can do as well on B is you go to this corner, and then you go and aim at this guy's eye, and it should land there. And here's the choke point. Not only that as well, is that very rarely do people path like this, because it's just not very good pathing. So even though it's the fastest way out the Razor Vine, so the better path is, like, across this way, and they're gonna get hit by the Razor Vine the entire time. So this is actually quite a good Razor Vine, and it very rarely gets shot as well, because very rarely do people go B frequently enough to realize where this Razor Vine is. A lot of the time they're going to think it's here, because it basically is the same, and they're not going to realize, like, it's up top usually. I'm pretty sure they don't anyway. Let me have a quick look, because I want to see, can they actually logically figure this out? I mean, maybe potentially if they actually go through, they might be able to see it on this, so maybe they can figure it out. But the actual vines themselves don't give it away, so realistically they'll have to know this exists to probably figure it out. So the majority of the time they probably will not figure it out. I've not got it figured out yet, so probably that's one of the main reasons, right, is that it doesn't actually show with the vines. When it comes to retaking B, there's going to be two ways I retake B. One very rare one, and two other ones. So the two main ones that I do is from C, and it's just from C link. So we're going to look for a flash over here. This flash is generally benefits a lot more when there's a smoke here, because when this smoke is here, it means that we're going to get info, like, tutored to this area, basically, which means that I won't get info on the guy that's main, because usually there's going to be person main, and also that person main is usually the one able to shoot this the easiest. So if there's a smoke here, this flash will actually be able to go through, and I'll get info on pretty much everywhere, like front side, basically, which is really, really good. When it comes to Razor Vines, it's going to be, most of the time, you're going to use them to anti-flood on B. You can use them to get people out of bad areas like this or something. So if you think someone's in the corner, you can do it like this, and then they're stuck, like, standing still, basically. So you can jiggle them, and then if they're standing still there, you can just pre-fire them, basically. When they're standing still in the Razor Vine. Yeah, and once again, anti-flood. Anti-flood is going to be the main reason. The main thing you do with Razor Vines. Then we're going to retake from A, from Heaven. This is where I retake from if I'm playing A. And it's going to be very similar, where I'm going to place this flash. It's usually better if this is smoked, because we get info on front sight. And then Razor Vines as anti-flood. It's exactly the same, basically. You can also do ones off this top bit as well. I did it wrong there. But you can do ones off the top bit, and if you get it, like, off that, then you can get the same corner like this. It's not quite as good as the one that I threw down here, but it's decent enough. And then the other place I retake from, which is very, very rare. The reason why this one is rare is because if I'm playing A, we very rarely take A main. So if you very rarely take A main here, I'm not going to be able to go through A link. Because it's just maybe a bit too unsafe. Usually I don't do it. I can do sometimes. but for the most part, I don't. It really depends on the situation. So you can do razor vines through this, and this is just for if people are like close underneath heaven. Sometimes this angle gets played a lot, so you can maybe catch someone and keep them there. As well as the flash as well. Flashes through here. I find flashes that are like quite low over here are quite good. The reason for that is because it doesn't flash people heaven. It doesn't flash heaven, which means that you don't really run too much risk of flashing any teammates retaking with you, because it detonates here. So it's actually quite good. I recommend doing the flash from this if that's where you're coming from. The flash under heaven is quite good. You can also do the same on this as well. You can do one like this too. Just bear in mind this one gets shot very easily. But it does get the info of the people down here, potentially, if there are any. So yeah, that's kind of it for retaking B. So on A, fence A, the wall is going to be this one for this area. You can also do one like this as well. There's not a huge amount of difference, as you can see the overlap here. There's not a huge amount of difference. Both of these are just as baitable as each other. It's just a mix-up, really. Very rarely, though, do people like go across this wall to look, like to go A. They usually go on this side. So this one can be a bit more detectable against some more better players that go across here. There are some players, though, to be fair, I say better players, not necessarily. It is just like the way that some people might path is just different here. It's not necessarily better or worse. It kind of depends on what their job is, really, and what the aim of the round is. So this one might be more undetectable in some certain situations, so I might recommend it. But it could also be a bit worse in terms of like a lurker. A lurker could get into a situation like this and trap someone in tree. They may not know them, could happen, and then they'll just die to this person because they won't expect them to be there. That can also happen as well, so be very careful with both of these walls because they both have their own disadvantages. But for the most part, they're fairly similar. When it comes to other walls over here, this wall is pretty obvious, to be honest. It stops multiple players from coming out tree. Although I would recommend you do one over here instead, because I think the majority of the time people come through here, at least in more numbers over here. But to be honest, in some games, a lot of enemies will, like, for some reason, love tree so much that they send like 4 players through it. So that's what's going to happen. So usually this wall is going to be better. You can also do a wall like this as well, and use it as a trap plane. So when they come through, the wall procs, you can keep them and get kills on them like that. That works too. And then that's pretty much it for the walls, I think. And we can go into razor one. You can do walls like this as well to like stop them from like taking back sight. So if like, because a lot of the time, enemies will like try and take this area because this area is really strong for the post plant on attack. So if you know that's going to happen, right, you can kind of try and defend the back site, and it makes the A retake a lot easier because there's a lot less areas to worry about, like this area or like under the rope and that kind of stuff. This area, even like the parts on front site get less valuable because they've got less of a defense stacked up like before they reach you, if that makes sense, over there. So I would recommend like this wall is quite good for trapping people trying to take backside. You can also combine this once again with any high flashes. Once again, it's literally the same majority of the time for VYSE, with like the kind of the logic of what you do. It's just kind of like you kind of changing scenery basically a lot of the time. So I'll move on to the razor vines basically, because that's the last thing we got left really for A. So there's a line up here with the barrier. The barrier is obviously not here, but the barrier is about here. I'm pretty sure it's about here. I can't quite remember where, but I'm pretty sure it's right here. And I'm gonna line up with this this part of the brick here, I'm pretty sure. That looks really wrong to me, but maybe it's right. Wait, is it this one? No, it's definitely this. Sorry. Yeah, there you go. Sorry, I was right the first time. And it lands here, and what happens is it hits everywhere around the door, and it doesn't even break. So let me throw it again. I'm stupid, and should have shown this anyway. It doesn't even break with the door opening either. So you can see, like, it doesn't break. And it doesn't break. So it is really good. It is really, really good. It's basically like a free way to stop them from coming through door the first time they open it. It's really, really good. The other razor vine that's kind of good as well that I like is also towards tree. And you basically want to go under this line here. And there should be like a little... I can see it. There should be like a little part of the shadow here, I think. Like here. And it should... Okay, that was really close. It's like here maybe? Or here? I can't... Okay, so this lineup's a work in progress, but essentially it's meant to land in here. But I am going to get a better one, better way to do it, and it should look like this. So I know where the razor vine ends up. That's usually how I start my lineups for the razor vines. Is I know where they end up. I just need to find the lineup for them. And this is what it should look like, and it's actually really, really strong because it's very unlikely that they will actually find it because they have to be here to see it. So it's very unlikely they actually find this one. It's pretty good. So that's it for the razor vines, I think, as well. There's a razor vine here as well for this area, and also if you want a less of a basic one, you can go over to this wall and you can aim at where the bricks, like this part, like the cement, the bricks, sort of meets this like box, and here. And it's not quite as that good because I don't think it hits it. Oh, it actually does. Sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it does. So it's a bit weird, but yeah. That's another alternative you have for this choke point anyway, for the razor vines. When it comes to retaking A majority of the time I'm coming through CT. So top side, like through CT to heaven. Because this seems to be like the better spot for VYSE, because I can get an info flash here if I wanted one. I can also throw my stuff like this to sort of like contest this area, which, as I've said, you know, is one of the strongest areas for attack to sit in. So contesting this area is quite important potentially. You can also do one like this as well for sight. You can also flash through the main building like this as well. That's also good for you. Razor vines into tree as well, like this. Stop them from peeking, because a lot of the time people will be behind this wall, and then they'll peek when they need to. But this razor vine, all you want to do is you want to just bounce it off this part of the wall. Do not want to jump though. Like this. It's really, really easy. Just actually go through the wall, doesn't it, right? Yeah, okay. And yeah, that one will stop them from peeking you from tree. So yeah, that's pretty much it for VYSE on defense. We'll move on to attack. So quickly before we move on to attack, I need to make sure I show the ult because I forgot. So on the retake for B, this ult is probably the best one, but you can also do it from here. It kind of depends on, once again, where you're retaking from. Honestly, all these corners are completely fine to use. I would probably do it here for B. For A-Link. And then for A, because I forgot to mention it on A as well, is this one. It's probably the best one. You can technically do it from over here as well, probably this corner. But it's just slightly worse because it doesn't really hit these back areas, and neither does this one. So I wouldn't really recommend ulting for A. So when you do have your ult for retake, I actually recommend you play A and then you go use the one on C, because this one on C is actually really good, and the one on A kind of sucks. The one on B is also kind of good too. The one on A kind of sucks. So if you do have your ult, I would play C, because you're not going to use it on the actual defense. So we'll move on to attack now. Okay, so on attack, we'll start off with A first. But first, I want to talk about how to lurk on this map, and also some of the things to bear in mind when you're like anti-flanking and that kind of stuff. So there's 3 lanes on this map, which means that majority of the time, it's going to be really hard for you to like just place, like set and forget a wall, and it actually acts as like anti-flank, unless you all go A. The problem is with this is that if you all go A, fight for like 5-man A, you're going to lose a lot of map control, and it stops you from being able to actually make meaningful rotations, or at least strong rotations, because you're not going to have any pressure from anywhere else. So you give the map to basically everyone else, like your enemies. That they are going to have the majority of the map, right? So if your teammates want to go A, what I would recommend you do is you either place your wall for B and go C, or you place your wall for C and go B. And also, this is also like the anti-flanks for if you ever go 5-man somewhere, unless for B, you don't have an anti-flank wall for B. It's not possible to place one here. That's actually good. So if you are going B, if your teammates are going B, you either should definitely lurk and place one of these 2 walls and lurk in the place you didn't place them, or you should just go 5-man B and not care about the anti-flank. That's basically, and one of the few times you'll actually have your wall for post-plant probably, as at least as a solo sentinel. If you aren't a solo sentinel, if you aren't responsible for the anti-flank, you have a Cypher, you have a Killjoy, then just don't worry about this and keep your wall for when it's like really high pressure in the post-plant. That's when you're going to be, also that's when you're most valuable on VYSE as well, is when you don't have to place these walls. So we'll start off on A, attacking A. I do have some things for VYSE on A. This razor vine is completely fine. Just stops people getting off the corner. It's going to get shot potentially a lot of the time, but it's good still. It's good pressure potentially. This one as well is the same. But this one's a bit better when the smoke goes up, because then it's like anti-flood. So the person in the smoke, if there's anyone in there, can't just run out and kill someone on your team and like dash away or cheap TP away or whatever, right? They're going to have to like go through the razor vine. It's going to make a whole thing like a lot more awkward for them to do anything. Another razor vine I have from here as well is against this corner. And this one's actually more for when your teammates are going out and you're playing a bit further back towards rubble. You want to aim against this leaf here with this part of the hood. And it should bounce off this tree.
There.
And land here.
There.
And it just basically stops this tree player from getting out towards back site. So they're forced to kill this person, to go against this person. As you can see as well, if the tree is opening and this person is like running forward, or like the people in their main are running forward and this is getting opened, they can't actually move this way. They can't move this way, right? Because the razor vine's there. If they move this way, they're fighting the tree players, and they can't move forward out of the razor vine, because if they move forward on this player's screen, they're going to be the freest kill of their lives. So it makes this player have a really bad time because they can't get anywhere. There's not a good place for them. They basically have to try and go for like a 1-for-1 or 2-for-1, and that's like the maximum value they'd probably get in the situation. Ideally, for them at least, that's ideally for them. For us, obviously, they get trapped and they just die. So that's like how good that razor vine is. I actually really like that razor vine. Next, when it comes to like just going forward with like the flashes and things, you can place a flash up here. I don't know why it's got. Where have I placed that? That might not be good. I'm not sure if that's good. Can I see if it flashes? It does flash. Sorry. I just had to check. I just had to check if that flashed. I was pretty convinced it did, but yeah, it plays flashes like that and open the door. It's completely fine if I actually place my flashes correctly. And then there's also this one here. So you just want to make sure you don't get it in tree. You can technically get it in tree if you want to, if you think it's good, but I wouldn't. This one's better. It does potentially get shot from backside players or people on top. But it is just to get info. Generally, those flashes are anyway. More so than actually get a kill flash. This one can be a kill flash depending on like when you place it after opening the door. Like if you open the door first and place it, it's more likely to be a kill flash than if you place it before opening the door. Because it's going to have less time. Basically, they have more time to react to the flash, basically. And that can make it more of an info flash than a kill flash. And that's kind of it, like, moving forward into A. You can place your wall on the bomb. Usually I would go through tree, and this is where I play post plant from as well. You can also play post plant from rubble as well. This is when I'll actually place this razor vine, and then I'll play post plant from rubble. And if I'm doing that as well, if I have an extra razor vine, I might throw on like this as well to delay further time through the stairs. Things like that are really, really strong for VYSE. And you can just be very, very annoying. Is this one coming through this wall, through this door as well? You can also throw razor vines like this as well. And bear in mind as well, you want to throw it like high against this wall, because as you can see here, I threw it like midway through and it got here. If you can get it to here, it makes it super hard for if I break this wall. It's super hard for the enemy to actually see this if you place it further. If it gets further this way, like they cannot see this, they cannot shoot it, but it's going to block them anyway, right? It's going to block them. This razor vine still blocks them if we wait for the other ones to expire. It still blocks them, even though they could never actually shoot this. So if you get it high enough on the wall, then it will bounce far enough this way where they are like stuck. They're generally stuck there for a while. So it's quite good to like play over here on rubble as VYSE. I also think it's good over here as well. So you can place the wall on the bomb if you need to. There's also, you can bounce these off like this. Very similar as well. If you bounce it far enough, it goes over here. And then it's going to just make the pathing more predictable for these players when they move up to you. Instead of, obviously, they can't move through the razor vine. So you know they aren't there. So then you can pre-aim this wall here and pre-fire them. So yeah, just general. VYSE is pretty good as well in these sort of situations where she has to like defend areas. She's really good, especially when the enemy wants to move into those areas. That's when she especially shines, especially the razor vines. The flash, once again, it's like kill flash or info flash, even in post plant situations. But you can also do traps as well, so you can do ones like up here as well, like this. So when you can like bait a fight out, and when they start to run through here, you hear the footsteps, flash, 3 kills, right? That's kind of how it goes with VYSE a lot of the time. And that's kind of how I play post plant as well on A. So either play in tree or in rubble for varying situations. Next is B. When you're going into B, there really is not that much. Majority of the time, it's going to be place a flash anywhere through this wall for your teammates to go out. And anti-flood razor vine, and then win post plant. And then in post plant, majority of the time, it's going to be maybe you're going to razor vine on top of the bomb to stop them from getting to it. Get some time. Majority of the time, you're probably not going to have a phantom. You're probably going to have like, I don't know, a spectre, or you're going to have a bulldog. You're going to have something low. You're going to have a sheriff. You're not going to have anything like too crazy with in terms of like what gun you have, because majority of the time when you go B, you're going to be eco. You're going to be bonusing. You're not really going to be on full buys. There are going to be times when you are, and those times are usually going to be like splits. And in splits, it's going to be exactly the same kind of thing. Like, you're not really going to be doing anything too crazy. You can do flashes like this. But other than that, there's not much too different. You can do, once again, it's like anti-flood with the razor vine. Anti-flood with the razor vine over here as well, potentially. Like, that's literally that's usually VYSE played on attack, basically. Is anti-flood razor vine, info or kill flash, and usually info flash, to be honest. And that's just like kind of how it goes. When it comes to, sorry, I keep forgetting the ult, because the ult is just, it's so, like, not situational necessarily, but it's like, but it is situational, really situational, to be fair. So on A, this is where you're gonna ult from. And I wouldn't recommend playing Rubble when you have ult, because your ult is gonna suck. So I would not play Rubble when you have your ult up. When you're going B, or like when you're like post planting for B, this ult is actually really good. And you're generally gonna play off site when you play B. Ideally, you're one of those agents that are quite good at delaying a lot of time, especially if you put your wall on the bomb as well. That can also help you to delay some time. Generally, you want it in this corner in that situation, so then you can push them off the bomb like this. They can still like get onto the bomb sometimes. Like if they're slow enough about it and they're careful enough about it, sometimes they can get on the bomb without proccing the wall. So you want to be very careful with the way you place it. And also you don't want to like lock yourself out as well at that too. But yeah, the wall, as I said, the ult is quite good on B for post plan, and that's the kind of it for B. As well. So finally we move on to C. And on C, also I've already talked about the anti-flank, so I won't talk about those. But on C, you can also do the info flash very similar to Gecko. I wouldn't do this over a Gecko, so if you have a Gecko, let him do this. But yeah, you can do it as well as a replacement. You can also do this as well if you're lurking C. Don't be afraid to use your flash early in the round if you're lurking. Because it's really, really important to have some pressure when you're lurking. Make yourself look bigger than you are, because then it's going to make your team like feel like you're pressuring everywhere. It's going to feel horrible for the enemy team to play against, because you're pressuring them a lot. This obviously doesn't go for every situation. There's going to be times where you want to take very slow flanks, and then you might be able to like get like really nice flanks eventually in like post plant and things, and you take really nice timings that way. Or maybe you can like get a nice timing on B players for your teammates to rotate back into B, and you get a kill on the flank, and then they can plan B, and like, that kind of stuff can happen. But yeah, for the most part, like I would like, or even on lurk, like I would do early info or early pressure on C as a lurker, and this even goes as well with your team. As I said, you can replace the Gecko potentially, but I wouldn't do it over Gecko. So next is the Razor Vines. You can do a Razor Vine like this if you're really scared of this and you've got no info here. But I wouldn't recommend it. Other than that, there's not really like a huge amount in this like main area. Next is actually in the site. So in the site, you can do things like bounce off here to like stop people from flooding out into the site. You can also do the same if against this wall as well for CT. Exactly the same. Info flashes exist like this as well. And there's also one over in Waterfall like this. This one's very likely to get shot though. You can also do one like this too, but obviously it's quite risky if you don't know it's not clear. But yeah, that one will get someone. It will literally get someone over here like this, and then they might have to shoot it because it's going to flash them basically, which is quite good. You can also do the Razor Vine off this as well to hit backside too. So there's plenty of options you have on C. I think C is a really nice site for VYSE in general. You can do one like this as well, and this one's actually kind of good as well because they like to play behind the wooden part of the box. Then you can potentially spray them, and they either have to move through the Razor Vine to dodge the spray, or they have to stand still and take the spray, which is quite good. Basically, either way, right? It's a win-win situation for you. And then when we get to post plant, there are like so many you can play. I usually like to play off site if I can help it, because if I have my ult, definitely, because I have this. But even then, you can even ult from here, and it's not too bad, right? Because a lot of the time, it's going to hit people running into you anyway. Over here, so ult is going to go from either way, but I like to play it off site because you are just generally that good. As I've already mentioned on B, you are good at just delaying time, right? So if you can get away with placing like Razor Vines like this, and then playing for like time if it's planted here or if it's planted here, then you want to do that, right?
Retrieving flash.
I don't have any like crazy Razor Vines for post plant or anything. It is literally just the same as the take ones. There is one like this as well, which you place like fairly lazily, I guess, or lazily in quotations, where it lands on the, like this part. And this is like mainly for post plant, where if they try to get out, they can't go through this corridor. That's kind of like one of the ones I like to do as well. And as you can see as well, it also works for people trying to get through the main site as well. It is very likely to get shot, so you want to place this early and then detonate it on a timing rather than like throw it then detonate it instantly, because it's going to get shot. So you want to make sure you place this fairly early in the post plant, so then they don't like basically as you're planting, so then they don't see it, and then you can detonate it when it actually has pressure. And that's kind of it for VYSE, I think, on Lotus. It's a bit rushed because there's a lot of information I wanted to put in, and at the same so you know, I might not have explained things like super precisely or super comprehensively. So you know, any comments, any questions, sorry, put them down in the comments, and I'll be happy to answer them. So yeah, if you enjoyed this, then give it a like and subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you in my next one.